All right, well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to get started at 7 p.m. For those of you on Zoom, you will go ahead and click on the Q&A button if you have any questions. If you are tuning in our Facebook Live, feel free to drop in any questions in the comments area. We will do our best to answer all of your questions that you have today. So thank you for being here today. We'll get started at 7. Para las familias que están aquí y quieren escuchar esto en español, esto ahorita va a estar en español por YouTube, so lo pueden mirar por YouTube en español también. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Hello, everyone. Again, thank you for being here on this evening. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you on Zoom, go ahead and click on the Q&A. That's where you'll be able to post your questions. For those of you on Facebook Live, you'll be able to ask any of your questions in the comments section. We'll do our best to answer any of your questions. And again, thank you for being here. We'll get started right now at 7. Well, good evening, students and families. Thank you for being here in our workshop today, in our Scholarships 101 workshop. Each month we are having workshops that have to do with financial aid. And this month we are hosting our Scholarships 101. We know that we delayed from last week due to the power outages, but so we're so happy that you're here with us this evening to really talk about scholarships and how to get free money. Here in Stockton Unified, we are doing our best to make sure that our students complete their financial aid applications. So we really want to focus on financial aid. My name is Jose Cardenas. I'm a school counselor program specialist, and I work for Stockton Unified in the school counseling department. I'm under student services, and I'm going to go ahead and have our panelists introduce themselves this evening.
I'll go first. Hi, good evening. My name is Araceli Garcia, and I'm the McNair Scholars Program Director at Stanislaus State.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Drew Wormsley, and I'm the Manager of College Access and Outreach with Stockton Scholars.
So we are very lucky to have our panelists here with us this evening. Our panelists this evening will be talking as far as all the different opportunities starting from high school, but also in college and beyond into graduate school. So we're definitely looking forward to our different opportunities for our students. So first of all, again, thank you for joining us today on Zoom. For those of you on Facebook Live, thank you for being here. If you have any questions at any point in time on Zoom, you will hit the Q&A area and go ahead and ask your questions. For those of you on Facebook Live, please make sure to drop your questions in the comments section. We will do our best to answer all of your questions that you have today. So our school counselors and our school district are currently working very hard to implement multi-tiered, multi-domain systems of support for all of our students. We are aligning ourselves with the ASCA national standards to provide comprehensive school counseling programs. We want to make sure that all of our students' needs are met in academics and social emotional learning and college and career awareness, and really to be ready to go on to college and be ready for a career. We want to make sure we continue to provide social support for our students, either through small groups, individual support, student planning, but most of all, we want to continue to consult, to collaborate with district, with school admin, with our students, and most of all of you, our families. So again, thank you for being here today. We're going to go ahead and get started with our different workshop. We are holding different workshops each month. And so at the end of this month, we will be having another workshop that's going to be really focused on college, on career technical opportunities, apprenticeships, externships, job shadowing, just other opportunities that our students can have that is an option about college, but the end goal is always to have a career and to give back to our community. So we want to make sure that you join us for our other workshops. But again, we're going to go ahead and get started tonight on our Workshops 101. Hopefully you can get as much information as possible in regard to the workshops, in regards to the scholarships that we offer. So first of all, just have to say this, put in this plug. If you have any students that are seniors, that are 12th graders, know that their financial aid application is due by March 2nd. March 2nd is the deadline for our students to submit their financial aid applications in order for them to get as much free money as possible. So it opened up on October 1st. This is financial aid, February is Financial Aid Awareness Month. So we want to make sure that we have our students attend either a workshop through Delta College, through Stockton Unified, also through the state. The California Student Aid Commission is offering workshops, but also within the schools, we are offering workshops and assistance. So please make sure, students, that you apply for financial aid. What we want you to get all the money as possible. That's free money. We don't want you to be indebted with any loans. So please apply before March 2nd. So let's go on with our scholarships. With scholarships, that's free money for our students, free money for our families. And so we want to make sure that you're aware of what scholarships are available here in this local area. So in this local area, Delta College is a local college that provides scholarships. As you can see by this screen, you will see that they've provided different scholarship application workshops. For many of our seniors, they're not aware that if they are going to attend Delta, there's a scholarship application that Delta has specifically for our 12th grade students and also for college students. So if you have any brothers and sisters or any of you are currently attending Delta, Delta has its own scholarship office that provides scholarships for their students. So please don't let those opportunities go to the wayside. They often don't have a lot of applicants. So we want our seniors that may be thinking about attending Delta to apply to these Delta scholarships. Also, there's national scholarships. An example of a national scholarship could be the Opportunity Scholarship. If students apply to financial aid, so they apply for their FAFSA, and they do some of the requirements through College Board, they can get an additional $1,000 from College Board by this Opportunity Scholarship. So for you seniors who have already completed your financial aid applications, you just have to do some of the requirements through College Board and you can get an additional $1,000. And the requirements can be studying for your SAT, they can be doing Khan Academy modules. So it's just a little bit of tasks that you do to get this $1,000 for free. If you're looking at attending a private university, private universities have internal scholarships. And so you can go ahead and do what's called the CSS profile. The CSS profile allows you to get internal scholarships at private universities. It is an application. Sometimes there's a cost associated, but most of the time, if you have a fee waiver, you're also able to get that waived, so you don't have to pay for the CSS profile. And most of all, if you want to go ahead and do a scholarship search through one of these scholarship search engines, you can do through fastweb.com, ScholarMe, RaiseMe, Going Merry, College Board. But make sure you go through a reputable source, because when you go through a reputable source, that means you're not getting spammed, you're not getting unnecessary emails. This is really pertaining to you. And last of all, you should never have to pay for a scholarship. All scholarship information is completely free. Every year we've had students and families pay an outside agency to help them get scholarships. And that's usually a scam, because if you have to go pay for that, all of this information is free. So you don't want to pay for this. You can get this information for free and apply for free. So just want to make sure that families are aware of that. So let's talk a little bit about our Stockton Unified Local Scholarship. So for all of you students who are here from Stockton Unified, you're currently a 12th grader, maybe your school counselors have been telling you, apply for the local scholarship, apply for a local scholarship, and you're thinking, you know what, I just don't have time for that. Well, we have scholarships that you can get that can help you in addition to the financial aid. So in addition to FAFSA, California Dream Act, in addition to the CSS profile, in addition to a national scholarship, this is an addition of funds that you can get to help you pay for school. And so I'm going to go over really briefly is where you can find the local scholarship for Stockton Unified. We're going to go over the catalog. We're going to talk about the scholarship deadlines, what scholarships are available, and then the scholarship application, which tends to scare students, but we definitely don't want to scare students off because this is an easy process. So the first thing you're going to do is when you go to the Stockton Unified website, you're going to go ahead and go to the Stockton Unified website, and you're going to go to the college and career area. Under the college and career area, you're going to go ahead and go down to where it says scholarships and grants. Once you click on that, it will bring you to this page, and you're going to go ahead and see that there's different information here. There's information regarding FAFSA, California Dream Act, Stockton Scholars. You will also see that there's financial aid workshops. So all the different workshops that we have in our district that we're offering for this month. You will also see other information, but what I want to show you is right now the scholarships. So if you went on to where it says scholarship catalog, you will see that where our catalog is hosted. Our catalog has information in regards to what scholarships are available within our district, but also who are your contact people at your school sites. But the number one thing that I want to show you on this page is the deadlines, right? There's various deadlines for scholarships. There's about 2 pages worth of deadlines. All you have to worry about is turning in your local scholarship application to your school counselor or your guidance tech. Your guidance tech and your school counselor, they will worry about these additional deadlines. These additional deadlines are supplemental information that they may ask you for, but for the most part, just worry about doing your local scholarship application. So when you click on your local scholarship application, this is the part that scares students. This is probably one of the easiest applications you will see. It is 6 pages long, but it is not a complete 6 pages. So I'm just going to walk you a little bit through it of what you need. So page number 1, all we're asking our students to do is put the school year, their name, and their school's name. That's it. If you know your counselor's name, even better. But you can leave that part blank. As far as the due date to your school counselor, you can leave that blank, and also the due date to student services. You don't even have to put the name of the scholarship you're applying to. All you have to do is put in your name and information. Page number 2 is basic information, your address, your phone number, a picture of yourself. You may have a selfie. You have your family information, your educational information. So what college you're thinking about going to, what's your first choice, your second choice, your college major. And then it asks your parent information. And then it has a really brief essay of addressing why you have a financial situation or you have financial need. It will ask for your parents' finances, so their annual gross income, or their adjusted gross income. And then if you played any sports, you're just going to put your last name, your first name, your student ID, date of birth, and full name. That's all you're going to do. You're not going to have to check off any of these boxes. This is the most important page, the page that has to do with student activities. So we want you to list all the activities you've done in high school. This is the part that's really going to showcase what your involvement has been in high school. And so this is going to help with the donors and what the scholarships that you're going to apply to. That's probably the hardest part of the application. And then you just have to do some check boxes. Are you of Asian descent? Are you of African-American descent? Are you of Filipino descent or Mexican-American descent? You will check a box, ask some family background. Were you in GATE? Were you in bilingual education at all? And then it does ask you for your college plans and 3 letters of recommendations, which you will ask a teacher, a school counselor, an administrator, or a community member. And that's the application. You turn this in to your school counselor, your guidance tech, and they take care of the rest. There will be some additional supplemental, but this is the Stockton Unified Local Scholarship Application. We want our students to submit this as soon as possible. We know we've said January 31st. I know some sites have said we need it by February 14th at the latest. So check in with your school site to turn this in. And this is the local scholarship for Stockton Unified. I'm going to talk a little bit more details about the local scholarship. So let me go ahead and switch screens really quick. All right, so I'm going to go back. My apologies for that. All right, so that is our local scholarship. But I just want to give you some tips as far as what you need to do to prepare for a scholarship. So maybe you're a 9th grader, or maybe you're even a 7th grader. What students can do in preparation for their scholarships before they apply, what they should be doing is collecting information, collecting like when they got any honors or awards, their GPA, their volunteer experience, their work experience, and then just answering some basic questions. And so in Stockton Unified, we created what's called a student information sheet or a brag sheet, where you can put down all of your information starting early on And when you ask for those letters of recommendation from your teachers, you can share this brag sheet with them, and they'll be able to write you a really good letter of recommendation. Those letter of recommendations go a long way for students. Most scholarships will request for a letter of recommendation, but not all. So every scholarship has a different requirement, which means some might just have you fill out a really quick essay. Some might have you just fill out your personal information, and some may require you to write a short essay. So it just depends on the scholarship. Make sure that you ask for letters of recommendation early. Make sure that you provide some background about your scholarship. And this brag sheet can just help you so when you apply for college. So the main thing that I want you to get is do your brag sheet early, write down your information, have it ready for your local scholarship, and apply and get that free money. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to one of our panelists today, to Drew Wormsley, who's the manager of the College Access and Outreach for Stockton Scholars.
Hello, everybody. Yes, like we said before, my name is Drew Wormsley, and I work with Stockton Scholars, and I'm here to tell you all about the scholarship that we have for you all. Before I hop into the scholarship portion, I do want to highlight some things about how we support students within Stockton. Of course, we give a scholarship out to them, but we also support students with completing their FAFSA or their California Dream Act financial aid applications. Our outreach officers do host office hours where they can support students in completing their scholarship applications, either ours or other scholarships that they may be applying for, or if they need help with completing their college applications, anything college or school related that students want support on or would like to have conversations about, they're welcome to join our office hours. We provide coaching and support to students who are completing personal statement essays for the universities that they're applying to or for other scholarships that they're applying to. And last but not least, we do have a high school ambassador program, which is an opportunity for students to gain leadership experience and access to various workshops that prepare them either for their college application process or their transition to college, depending on what grade that they're in. And our program for the high school ambassadors is open up to all high school students within the city of Stockton, 9th to 12th grade. Oops. Yes. Okay. So for our scholarship, students who apply and are accepted to our scholarship would receive $1,000 a year for up to 4 years for attending a 4-year college or university. So that's like if a student's going to UOP, Sac State, UC Davis, and schools like that, their scholarship amount would total $4,000 over the course of their educational experience at those schools. Or we offer students $500 a year for up to 2 years for attending a 2-year college or trade school. And that's a total of $1,000 for those 2 years that they're in community college or at their trade schools. One thing to know about our scholarship is that students must be planning to attend a not-for-profit school in California, with the exceptions of attending a HBCU or an MSI. So a HBCU is a historically Black college or university, and there's only one of those schools in California, Charles Drew University, which is in Los Angeles, which is why we opened up HBCUs for our scholarship, that we wanted our African-American students to be able to take advantage of those opportunities to go to a school that was created for them. We also provide scholarships to students who are attending an MSI, which is a minority serving institution. So any school in the United States that self-identifies and has applied for the MSI, whatever they have to do to apply for those things, but if they're considered to be a minority serving institution and they're outside of the state of California, students can still get their scholarships through Stockton Scholars. And so our scholarship kind of runs in 2 phases. That first phase is the applying stage, which we are currently in now. And in order to apply for our scholarship, students must complete their FAFSA or their California Dream Act application. We do require them to submit a screenshot of that confirmation that they have completed those applications. Students must have a 2.0 GPA when graduating from high school, and we do verify that and ask students to submit proof of their GPA with a transcript from their high school. And then the last qualification is to ensure that you submit your application by the March 2nd deadline at 11:59 p.m., not midnight, not 12:01, but please 11:59 p.m. And that's the same deadline as the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act applications. And you can find our scholarship application on our website at stocktonscholars.org/scholarships. Phase 2 of our scholarship phases is when the application closes on March 2nd, students who apply, we will go through all of the applications, and students who are accepted into our program will get an email from us asking them to sign up for their scholarship activation course and our summer summit event. And we really encourage you parents and students to ensure that your student is putting in the correct email address. We don't want it to be a problem where they accidentally typed in the wrong email and they're not getting the emails from us, knowing what steps they need to complete in order to claim their funds. And check your emails frequently, even your spam emails, not just because Stockton Scholars is sending you information, but for our seniors, this is a busy time. They're getting lots of emails from universities and other scholarships that they're applying to. So checking your emails and specifically your spam email for those things is very important. Closer to the time students enroll into their university, they must activate their scholarship, which is why we have them go through an activation scholarship course. And to activate your scholarship, students must submit proof of full-time enrollment from their university. They must submit their student aid report or their SAR from the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act application. They must submit proof of their GPA, and again, that 2.0 GPA, and then they must submit some type of proof of ID, whether that's their passport, their high school ID, their college ID, anything that can verify that we're giving the funds to the correct student. And I believe that's everything for Stockton Scholars. Thank you.
Good, that was wonderful information. And so, as I mentioned, my name is Alumni Garcia. I'm the director for the McNair Scholars Program at Stan State. And although we are talking about college funding and even beyond that to graduate school, it's really important to make those connections and be aware that college is not without, it's within your reach, and so is graduate school, right? So I hear a lot of, masters could be very expensive, or even a PhD, but you'll be surprised that we really shoot for fully funding doctoral or PhD programs, and I'll get into that in a sec. If we can advance to the next slide, please. So what is the McNair Scholars Program? We are funded by the U.S. Department of education. We fall under the TRIO umbrella, so we're kind of the last of the pipeline programs. And Stanislaus State is lucky to have two TRIO programs. We have student support services, and then we have the McNair program. And there's some stats in here. The font might be a little small here, but there's definitely a need to support students to place our underrepresented income eligible first generation college students into graduate programs, particularly doctoral programs. And when I say doctoral programs, the aim of the McNair Scholars Program is to place more students into doctoral degrees, such as more so for people that are interested in maybe becoming a professor at a university. So that could be a professor in chemistry, a doctorate in psychology and sociology. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's a medical doctor, right? That would fall more into the professional degree section. So some of the stats real quick, I'll go through. For master's degree attainment for white non-Hispanic, you're looking at about 10.7%, Black about 7%, Hispanic 4.1%. Doctoral degree attainment for white non-Hispanic, you're looking at a 2.3 for the master's, and Black 1.2, Hispanic 0.6. So the need is obviously there. Department of Education acknowledges that, and that is why we have programs such as the McNair Scholars Program. And if you're interested in diving in a little more into the statistics, it's from the US Census Bureau 2018, and it's for data for people over the age of 25 and older. And then if we can advance to the next. Thank you. So what are some of the benefits and services of being in the program? One of the main, probably the most pivotal part of being in the program is doing research, but being guided with by a faculty mentor within the student's discipline, right? So we don't place a student and we don't do the arrangements. The student seeks out a faculty member that they are interested in working with based on their discipline, someone that they feel that they will be comfortable and build a good working relationship. The bonus is that our students get paid to do research. Currently, it's $2,800 to do research over the summer. So we look at it as buying their time to do the research in the summer. And there's talks about even increasing that stipend just because there are a lot of other research opportunities over the summer that pay a little bit more than that. So it's looking quite hopeful for that. And attendance at participating regional national conferences. So with conducting research, obviously we want our students to have the opportunity to communicate their research to a larger audience. So we pay for, prior to COVID, we would pay for our students to attend conferences in other states or maybe regional conferences, and we would support the registration fees that usually include participation and maybe membership in the professional association. Any travel fees associated, we would cover that. Now, what it looks like the COVID era is we are still able to pay for virtual conferences, right? So everything, we're still offering the same services, just pivoted to a different platform. Now they're all virtual and we can still fund the registration fees for those. Counseling throughout the graduate school application process. A lot of our students are first generation if they don't fall under the underrepresented category. So usually, their students don't have mentors or somebody in the family that they can look to for guidance about getting into grad school. So we help them throughout that process. This is really important to note is that McNair Scholars carry that designation throughout their academic career. So graduate schools are specifically looking for students that have conducted research in the past, especially if they're going into a PhD program. And so graduate schools will give our McNair Scholars application fee waivers. So they don't have to pay to apply to their grad schools, but the big perk is fellowships. If you're not familiar with fellowships in graduate school, they're kind of like scholarships, but very, very comprehensive. So basically they're paying for your tuition. And fellowships come with, a lot of times they're very comprehensive, like I said, in that they can include covering your tuition, maybe a TA or an RA, or meaning a teaching assistantship, and also giving you health insurance. So our goal, like I mentioned at the beginning, is to get our PhD students that are going into PhD programs, to get those programs, the schooling fully funded for. And if I always talk to the students about looking at it as a job, right? So a lot of times you think about, okay, you're completed your bachelor's degree, now go out and get a job. But this could be your job. For 5 or 6 years, you're getting paid to do research, you're getting your health insurance, and you're getting a living stipend, again, either through a teaching assistantship or research assistantship. So the money is out there. GRE preparation program, programming and fee waivers or fee reduction vouchers. Again, a lot of our students qualify for a 50% reduction in the GRE fee, which is a couple $100. So that could surprise to about $100. And publication and presenting in the honors journal of exploratory research and presenting at the capstone conference. Again, we're trying to give our students experiences that are going to make them really strong candidates for graduate school, giving them those opportunities to apply for these prestigious fellowships and get their school fully funded. And visits to regional graduate school, again, post-COVID, when travel was allowed, we would take trips to, for example, fall of 2019, we did a trip to Southern California. So we visited USC and we visited UCLA, and we paid for the flights for the scholars. We paid for the meals and the hotel stay. So those are some of the perks of being part of a program like McNair. And there are actually 187 programs throughout the US. So there are a lot of opportunities, either through funding or conference attendance throughout the US, that when our students mention that they're McNair Scholars, they're automatically recognized and qualify for a lot of these resources. Next slide, please. And the next, my last slide is an Alumni Spotlight. So we have one of our students that graduated, class of 2019, Roland Dunham. He was able to, he conducted his research, we were able to pay for him to travel to Florida and present at a conference with his faculty mentor. He was able to travel to Ohio State and check out the campus. His flight, his lodging was paid for, and had the unique opportunity to visit with faculty and graduate school and graduate students at that school. And currently, he was accepted into the doctoral of, or the Doctor of Physical Therapy program at UOP. So that's one of the examples of what our students can do in the program. And that concludes my part of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Araceli and Drew. And I know we have questions from our audience this evening. So I want to go ahead and look at some of the Q&A and make sure we answer some of the questions. So one of the questions that we got earlier today was, are there scholarships for early high school students or dual enrolled at Delta Community College? And so I'll go ahead and take that one. There are scholarships for high school students that are in the 12th grade that are looking at going into the Delta Community College, and also for those students who are dually enrolled that are looking at going to the community college. So there are scholarships. I did learn that from the scholarship office, that students who are in their 12th grade looking to go to Delta, they can start applying for those scholarships that are available for Delta students. The second question that we have is, this one application will be applied to all the catalog the school counselor will submit. So the one application actually allows you to apply for almost up to, there's 96 different scholarships within the Stockton Unified Local Scholarship. So that one 6-page application allows you to apply for potentially up to 96 different scholarships. And they do submit it to their school counselor. And so what will happen is that school counselor will put the list together and start to spread out the applications to the qualifications of those scholarships. So every scholarship, all 96 scholarships, have different qualifications, different eligibility. So some might say they were looking for a student who's a 3.0 student. They're looking for a student who may be of Japanese descent. So it just depends on what those students have answered. And then another question was, my student had a questionable last semester, has a 2.95 GPA. Does that disqualify my child for any scholarships? So some scholarships are merit-based where it requires GPA, but there are scholarships that do not require GPA. They may only require community service. They may only require to be part of a club. Earlier today, we heard of a scholarship for a student who was either left-handed or had red hair. So every scholarship has their own qualification and their own eligibility. So it's not just GPA. If you notice a scholarship that might say, we're looking for a student who has a 3.0. If your child has a 2.95, have them apply. Most often than not, they might actually get it because not a lot of students apply to those scholarships. So please apply to them as much as possible. The next question is, last year, there were a few local scholarships for charter, and are any on this list outside of Stockton Scholars? So I hope I answered this question correctly. So last year, there were a few local scholarships for charters. So yes, there were a few scholarships that were directly for charter schools. And then there were some for very unique for some comprehensive schools. But outside of Stockton Scholars, there is other scholarships. Stockton Scholars is one scholarship application that has one pot of money. The local scholarship is one set of scholarships that has another pot of money. And then as you look within the local community, Delta College, they have another pot of community. Rotary has another pot of money. So there's different scholarships for different pots of money that are available. Hopefully I answered that question. And then the last question that we have here that I'm looking at this Q&A is, I was a McNair Scholar at San Jose State, and it's an excellent opportunity, and I was published in 3 studies. So I don't know if Araceli can want to talk to that a little bit. How great of opportunity McNair Scholars can be.
That is awesome to hear. And of course, I'm biased, so it's a wonderful opportunity. Again, like I said, it's not only do we support the students as they're working to complete their bachelor's degree and support them into getting into a graduate degree and throughout that process as a form of like alumni mixers and keeping in touch with them, but then also we have a handful of former McNair Scholars at Stan State that are current faculty. So that designation just, it's a once McNair, always McNair. So I'm sure that they can attest to that as well. So it's a fantastic opportunity. If you are interested in going into graduate school, a master's or a PhD particularly, please look into joining McNair.
Yes, get that upper that degree paid for. You don't have to pay for it, get it paid for you. There's a question here for Stockton Scholars. When do we know we get the scholarship or not? And where do we check if we already applied?
Well, if you already applied, thank you so much for getting that application in early. Students should find out if they've received the scholarship or not, I would say by mid-April. So keep checking your emails. We don't really go through everybody and send out the emails until after the scholarship closes on March 2nd. And then it takes our team time to go through everybody who's applied and figure out who's accepted or not. But you should be getting those emails by mid-April about whether or not you have received the scholarship or not, but you will hear back either way.
Perfect. Thank you very much. There's another question regarding the Stockton Unified Local Scholarship. How do we apply for it? Do we do it electronically or in writing? So for the Stockton Unified Local Scholarship, you can, when you click on the website, it is electronic. You can actually put it on your Doc Hub. And once you put in your Doc Hub, you can go ahead and fill it out. You can email it to your school counselor. You can email it to your guidance tech, or you can share it via Google. So that would be a way to submit it. So you would submit it electronically. You would fill it out electronically. As far as when it's due, we had a tentative deadline of January 31st, and we know that's passed. There's been a lot going on with, with the weather changing and with COVID. So it has been extended to a lot of sites. And so it has been extended, I believe, until the 14th, February 12th. So if you want to get that in by February 12th, I know your school counselors will work with you. So please work with your school counselors and your guidance techs, and they'll be the ones that'll work with you at your local sites. And we did get some more in our comments area. So if you need access to the application has been posted on the comment section, but it is also on our Stockton Unified website under college and career. So I have some very specific questions for Stockton Scholars. So for Drew Wormsley, do students have to apply every year for the scholarship?
You don't necessarily have to reapply every year, but you do have to activate your scholarship or renew your scholarship every year. So if you remember that portion of my presentation where I said you must submit proof that you've completed your FAFSA, you must submit proof of full-time enrollment, your GPA and ID. Students have to do that every single year. So every year, students who are already applied, who are continuing on in school, will get an email from us saying, hey, it's that time to renew your scholarship. Please submit these documents. And once they do that, students will get their funds from us.
Perfect, thank you. So question for McNair Scholars is for Araceli. Should I fill out a FAFSA for graduate school?
So yeah, I would recommend that you students do fill out a FAFSA for grad school. There's quite a few opportunities for financial supports once you're in graduate school, but a lot of times when it's need-based aid, the way to document, confirm the eligibility is through the FAFSA. So that is still used. And in case that, students needed to get a loan for whatever reason, that FAFSA would already be on file. So it'd be quicker process to get it that way. So I would recommend that students file a FAFSA.
Perfect, thank you. So question for Stockton Scholars for Drew. If students are planning to take time off from school until things get better, can they still apply for the scholarship?
Yes. So my recommendation to students who might be waiting till COVID dies down to kind of figure out what they want to do with their education is to still apply for our scholarship. Once you submit that application and we reach out to you all about verifying or submitting all the documentation you need in order to claim your funds, we also have a waiver process. So you would just let us know like, hey, I would like to defer my scholarship. Is that something I can do? We would go through the waiver process, kind of giving a reason as to why you're wishing to defer your scholarship. You can let them know COVID or is a reason why that's happening, and we will defer that scholarship until you go back to school.
Perfect, thank you. So Araceli, what are the deadlines for applying for graduate financial support?
So besides the FAFSA, which we know the deadline, the March 2nd deadline, it varies. It depends on the funding that students are applying to, but what I usually recommend is they usually have similar deadlines every year. A lot of them are due in the fall, so either early to late fall, especially like the NSF, which are very prestigious and have a lot of funding available, or the Ford Foundation, is to check, before you get to the senior year in college, maybe a sophomore and junior level, start checking for when these fellowships, scholarships are going to be due, and maybe create an Excel sheet when you can mark what month and what when each fellowship will be due, and then your senior year you already have a little calendar set up to remind you. So in some they vary, starting with fall of your senior year in college, and then some can be due in the early spring of senior year.
Thank you. So this is another question for Stockton Scholars, a little bit along with the dual enrollment question, is do students with dual enrollment qualify for the scholarship for the Stockton Scholars?
Yes, students who have dual enrollment or currently doing dual enrollment will qualify for our scholarship. It doesn't, just because you have your AA when you graduate, it won't take away for that 4 years. Just in case you might take you an extra 3 years or so, you would still qualify for our scholarship at the 4-year level.
Thank you. Araceli, what kind of financial aid support is available for graduate school?
So different funding, you can categorize them as institutional. So that means that they're coming from the university. It could be that the faculty that you want to work with has funding available. So that could come from the department. It could come from the university, and then there's external scholarships or grants, and those would be like fellowship scholarships that you apply for on your own, either through like the NSF grant would be one, where if you're awarded that grant or the fourth fellowship, that's portable. It's what's considered portable, so you can take that money with you, and regardless of what college you decide to attend. For those that are looking, and this is more so for PhD programs, if you're interested in a master's program, you might not have as many fellowship options, but there are other options to consider. So employers sometimes will fund either partial or full master's programs. One example is within the CSU, right? Like Stan State, if you work at Stan State, you will get a part-time waiver for tuition. So
Araceli, we lost that last part. You're talking that very last part.
the master's program. So just considering other sources like employer sponsored, sometimes the employers will pay for either a portion of your education or fully, like for example, the CSU, if you work at Stan State, you can get a tuition waiver for part-time status and then complete your degree that way.
Perfect, thank you. Drew, a question for you is, do students who start at a 2-year and transfer to a 4-year qualify for an increase in scholarship amount?
Yes, so students who apply for a scholarship and they do 2 years at a community college, getting that $500 a year. Once they transfer to a 4-year university, they would just notify us and let us know they're now at that 4-year. Of course, when they submit proof of enrollment at that university, their scholarship amount would increase to that $1,000, but only for an additional 2 years. So you get a total of 4 years worth of scholarship money from us, either 4 years all at a four-year university, or 2 years at a community college, and then 2 more years at a 4-year university.
So along with that question, is there a cap amount to the scholarships you give out?
No, there's not a cap. So all students who apply and they meet the qualifications, they will get their scholarship from us.
Perfect, thank you. And Araceli, there were some questions as far as what is the difference between a fellowship and assistantship, and who's eligible for a fellowship?
Forgot to mute myself. So the difference between a fellowship is usually money that's allocated to cover your tuition costs. And assistantship would either be a teaching assistantship or research assistantship, depending on what's available within the department and what's available to your faculty member. And who is eligible for a fellowship? It depends. Similar to the scholarships, there's fellowships for all kinds of different disciplines and students, demographics. But what I would recommend is when you're considering graduate school is to reach out to the faculty members at the schools that you're interested in applying to, because a lot of times some of the fellowships are not advertised on the website, and sometimes faculty have to recommend you for these opportunities, similar to our McNair Scholar that I highlighted, Roland. He reached out to faculty, and faculty mentor recommended him for a fellowship, and that's how he was able to pay for a lot of the costs that were associated with him traveling out to Ohio State. Like I think they covered his flight.
Perfect, thank you. I got 2 questions for the Stockton Unified Local Scholarship. One is, if I'm in 11th grade, can I apply for the local scholarship? If you're in 11th grade, you could actually take the current application and fill it out now in preparation for next year. So if you're a 10th grader or even a 9th grader, you could do the same thing. You could take the local scholarship that's available now, you could fill it out and have it ready for your senior year. We are looking to enhance this scholarship application, but the questions will remain pretty much the same. So you could do that for preparation wise. Another question that I received for the Stockton Unified Local Scholarship is, where's the list of the schools that the scholarship is for? And if your school isn't there, what does that mean? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quick and show you where you can find those lists of schools. And at the same time, if there's not a school listed, it'll usually say San Joaquin County. That means it's open to all San Joaquin County schools, or it'll be really specific and say it's open to Stockton Unified School District, or for example, like Lincoln School District. So if it says the school district, that means it's open to all schools. Only if it says it's to a particular school does it mean it's for that certain school. So I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen really quick and show everybody where to find those scholarships. All right, so let me share. So when people say, where do I find the local scholarships? So when you go to that college and career and you're on this screen with the catalog, if you click right here where it says scholarships offered by local scholarship organizations, it's going to take you to all of the scholarships that are available within Stockton Unified. If you want to go ahead, and it'll tell you the amount of that scholarship. So for example, this one right here, the Adeline Pierce, is one at $500. Eligibility is for a graduating senior, specifically for Edison High School. It's for a student of African-American descent. And then other qualifications are financial need, minimum of 3.0, enrollment as a full-time student. And right here, when it says March 15th deadline, that means that maybe your school counselor will say, hey, we need an additional information for you. On this one, there's no additional information. All they're going to do is take your application that you've submitted, and the school site is going to submit it to this scholarship foundation that'll go ahead and now review the scholarships. But all of these will tell you specific. Here's the second example, the Alex G. Spanos. It says eligibility, graduating senior from Edison, Franklin, Stagg, or Chavez High School. So only students from those high schools will be able to be eligible for that scholarship. So when you go through these postings, you'll be able to see, but what your counselors do is they go through to see who's turned them in, and then they start to share them out with these different donors. The donors make the final decision on who gets the actual scholarship. It's not your counselors. They're the ones who receive your application, but then they get it out to all of the donors. Let me see, I think there's something else. Well, we showed the document, perfect. And let me see what other questions we may have. I think that's all the questions that we have tonight. Are there any other statements that any of you would like to make?
Jose, I just want to add that I did put a link into a graduate school funding search. Like, it's a database, it's through UCLA. So you don't have to attend UCLA. It's nice because they've collected this pretty comprehensive database, and you can filter just based on, you know, what your graduate school plans are, what your discipline is, and a plethora of other criteria.
So I just want to thank everybody here for being here tonight. I want to thank our panelists, Drew Wormsley and Araceli Garcia, for being here. We know that we're all working hand in hand because we're really looking at generational changing our students as far as helping them with financing their education. We know that there's a lot of student debt out there. A lot of people wish they would have known about this free money that's available. There's billions of dollars that get left on the table every single year from scholarships where people don't apply. Yes, I said the B word, billions of dollars. So please make sure that apply. It doesn't hurt. One of the things that I always want to tell students, and I don't want to scare families, but students, you should be applying from anywhere between 20 to 50 scholarships. You might get 4, you might get 1, but it is really worth it. Just personal experience, I applied to about 10 different scholarships. I got 1, but that 1 was worth $4,000. That 1 scholarship was more than what I was making from working my part-time job at the time in college. So please apply. These are different opportunities that are here. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you to our panelists. Remember, if you should have any questions or need additional assistance, please reach out to your school counselor, reach out to your different sites. For any additional information, please log on to our college and career website on our Stockton Unified website. And also be on the lookout for the next workshop. Like I said, the next workshop will really focus on apprenticeships, on assistantships, on fellowships, on our CTE, college technical education programs. But we want to make sure we provide as much financial aid opportunities for all of our students and families as early on as kindergarten and all the way through 12th grade and beyond. So thank you again for being here tonight. We really appreciate your time, your questions, and please join us on our next one. Have a great evening. And for any questions, please reach out to your school counselors. Thank you very much.